This is Surfing Through Cinema. I'm your host, Hawaii Harry. Today I'll be discussing the next film for Disney Week, and this film shows us more about life in the circus. This is, of course, the film Dumbo. Okay, so some technical details about Dumbo. It was originally released October 23rd, 1941 in New York City. It was originally made to make up for the financial losses that came as a result of Fantasia. And if you remember from the last Disney Week, I discussed Fantasia and how it was very, very expensive to not only show the film, but also distribute it. Because not many theaters were able to accommodate the sound and the visuals needed to present Fantasia, so that resulted in a huge financial loss. So Disney decided close to the end of that same year, okay, we need to make a film to put it out before the end of the year so that we can make up for those losses. It's one of the shortest Disney films. It's only 65 minutes long, and this is a result of a few things. One, because of the financial setbacks. Another, because of World War II, many animators and workers were pulled out, so they had to rush it and had to trim it down and cut out a lot of their original ideas. But also because there was a strike that was going on, and that almost killed the production, since most of the animators and artists that worked on the film went on strike. Okay, so let's get into the plot. So, a circus elephant named Jumbo, she's eagerly awaiting for a baby to come by stork. As we learn in this world, all the babies come from stork. So she's eagerly waiting, she's on this train, and then a stork comes along and does drop off a baby. He's originally named Jumbo Jr. until his ears pop out, and they're 3 times as big as the normal size for an elephant, and they kind of made fun of him and named him Dumbo. Eventually got to the point where the mom was trying to protect Dumbo, and she struck a kid for, pulling on Dumbo's ears. And the circus people freaked out, tied her down, and threw her into her cage and separated her from Dumbo. And so after this, the circus performers try to have Dumbo work with the other elephants and stack on top of each other into a large pyramid. But unfortunately, his nerves get the best of him, and he trips on his ears, and he knocks over the tower. And they kind of chastise him and kick him out. So then he ends up working with the clowns. And even with the clowns, he doesn't like it. He's really embarrassed of it. And that's where he meets his friend Timothy Mouse. And after a really sad and depressing showing, Dumbo is really he's really down, he's really sad. They happen upon this barrel of water. It actually turns out to be some alcohol. So then they both start hallucinating and imagining some elephants. And this is typically called the pink elephant sequence, where it's various styles and various random things going on that are going through Dumbo's mind. The next day, they wake up hungover in a tree. They're trying to figure out how the heck they got up there. They happen upon some crows who give the idea, maybe you flew up. And then they realized, oh my goodness, I think Dumbo did fly up here. So the crows give him a black feather as kind of some good luck, and then they train him how to fly with his ears. Timothy realizes, hey, this is what we can do in the circus act now, because Dumbo can fly. So they return to the circus, and Dumbo is on top of a burning building, and he's supposed to jump into a big net, and he's got Timothy on his hat with him. They're pretending to do the actual stunt, but in reality, they're planning on Dumbo flying and showing around his abilities. When he jumps off, and when he does so, he loses the feather, and they realize, oh no, we're going to plummet to our deaths. But then at the last minute, Dumbo pulls through, and they start flying around, and he's cheered and he's celebrated, for being able to fly. And after this, he's made into a star, and now the biggest performer for the circus, and he's able to be reunited with his mom. And the last shot is him landing in a caboose that she's in, and he lands into her arms, and it's kind of a cute ending. Well, I'm going to go on a break real quick, but first, here's a message from our sponsor. This podcast is brought to you by Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Here's how. It's totally free. There are tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast from your computer and even your cell phone. But that's not all. Anchor distributes your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many, many more. You can even make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. Anchor is everything you need to make a complete podcast all in one small place. So go on and download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. Okay, so we're back from our break. So now I'm going to talk about some critical reviews of Dumbo. It has a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes from various critics, such as Metacritic and IMDb, all those various other ones. And then it has a 70% on the audience score. And that's because many people feel it's really, really short and it's kind of controversial. Many feel it has offensive material, such as the crows. Some consider it to be a representation of African Americans during that period and feel it's kind of racist. But other critics, such as Whoopi Goldberg, feel that the crows are the most important part of the film because they have one of the more famous songs, and she feels that people shouldn't be offended by it. So people are kind of, either you think it's racist or you don't think it's racist. There's kind of no in between with it. And other people feel it's kind of a scary film. You know, the pink elephant sequence is kind of weird and freaky, so that could kind of scare kids. So there are many people who have kind of mixed feelings about Dumbo. I mean, there are people who have, you know, fond memories of it, watching it as a kid. But over the years, it's kind of, I don't know, kind of dwindled in popularity. Although recently, they did do a live-action version of it by Tim Burton. I've also heard that one isn't too good either. Maybe Dumbo is just too weird of a story. I don't know. Let's get to my opinions of it. I think the pink elephant sequence is kind of freaky, kind of weird, but I also think it's a very good way of the artist showing their talents, the animators I should say, showing their talents with the different sequence art, the different styles. It's a really interesting scene. It kind of makes me think about Fantasia. You know, how there were those crazy parts in there too. I was kind of thinking maybe they had the same animators in it in different sequences. I think that the characters are kind of flat. The only character that really is fleshed out is Timothy Mouse, but even still, he's pretty one-dimensional and is hardly in it. It's kind of hard to really connect with any of the characters just because it's such a short amount of time to get to know it. But then again, you know, like I've said before with other films being too long, it's also give it the instance this is maybe too short. But there are a lot of factors going into it, so I kind of understand why it was short. For me, I don't think it's the best work Disney's done. I think it's just okay. But I respect it for what it is. You know, it is a piece of art, still part of the Disney films. It's not one I watch consistently, like, you know, Sleeping Beauty, Cinderella, Aladdin. It's not one I want to watch all the time. It seems pretty depressing, you know, how Dumbo is cut away from his mom a lot, and there's a lot of animal abuse and stuff. I don't know. It's not one that you watch. Again, it's kind of mediocre. I don't think it's the best Disney film. I mean, if you're a diehard Disney fan, then obviously, yeah, you should check it out. One of the most popular rides for it at Disneyland. It's the one where you fly in the a cart that's shaped like Dumbo and it like lifts up and down and flies you around. It's pretty fun. When I was a kid, I remember waiting in line for that. And in the 50th anniversary of it, there was a golden one that people really wanted to get on. So the lines were super long just to get onto the golden one. You know, Dumbo's one of those films where people know about it, people talk about it, but don't really watch it that often. It's not one you want to continually watch. I'll leave it up to you guys. You know, what do you think about it? Next week is the Streaming Through Cinema week, and I'll be discussing a film that's loaded with hilarious slapstick comedy and also pretty racist and pretty straightforward themes, but that's kind of the point of it. The point of the film was to make fun of that. I'm, of course, talking about Blazing Saddles, which has premiered for the first time on Hulu this month alone. Until next time, this has been Surfing Through Cinema with Hawaii Harry. Take care. Thank you for listening to Surfing Through Cinema. Make sure to check us out on Facebook at Surfing Through Cinema with Hawaii Harry and on Instagram with Surfing Through Cinema. We also have a website, www.anchor.fm/Surfing Through Cinema, where you can learn more details on upcoming episodes and on past episodes. We also want to let you know we're available on YouTube, so check us out Wednesday mornings at 5 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.